Hello and welcome to 4,000 and Counting. I'm Watty, this is Mark, and today we are joined by former Belfast Giants defenseman, Mr. Jacob Friend. Jacob, thanks for joining 4,000 and Counting.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, that's 2 weeks in a row, Mark. I've butchered the intro and we've had to record it twice. I'm not very happy. Like, what's going on? How can you do like 70 intros in a row, right, and then just start messing them up? Jacob, like I said, welcome to the show. The UK fans are going to be familiar with you from your stint in Belfast last year. Let's talk about how the move to Belfast came around and what you and your partner made of living in the city.
Yeah, I mean, to start, I'm sure some of those people who are familiar with me would be familiar with Era Nazarian. He was with us in Belfast last year. We played 3 seasons in Jacksonville on the East Coast. Um, our season finished 2 years ago and didn't really know what to do. We kind of wanted to change the scenery. We were just bouncing ideas off each other, and he had mentioned he was talking to Belfast, and I said I'd go there with him. Him and his girlfriend, me and my fiance were all pretty close over the 3 years we played in Jacksonville, and just opened up a discussion with Kiefer there and made it work. Um, and I'm happy we did it. It was a great time.
Keith is a big time beauty, eh?
Yeah, I mean he's a great coach to be able to play for. He's his style of coaching definitely fits my style of play, and I like the messages he would send, how he sent them, and there wasn't much to complain about in Belfast other than a little bit of a disappointing season, but the city was great. Me and my fiance both really liked it. We loved that place.
Did you find it
Um,
fast settling
sorry.
in, being your first spell out of North America? How did you find being out of that kind of comfort zone?
Yeah, it was definitely a different um, way of living for sure. I think it was like probably the closest to North America style living overseas. But the hockey aspect was pretty easy to settle into. I mean, we had some familiar faces, whether it was with the era or other players I played against over the years. But it's the UK. The UK league's obviously very unique, where every game is as important as the last with the trophy race. So that was, I think, the biggest adjustment was just game one is as important as game 25 in the middle of the season. So that was the biggest adjustment, I think, for us and for most of the guys who were played in that league for the first year.
Yeah, no one gets it. You come over and it's like, yeah, you lose a game to Dundee in fucking September on a Tuesday night and your season's derailed. Like, you're like, what's going on? Because normally, like, and we've talked about it with loads of the import lads that have come over. You get to February, you're not quite in the race. You start maybe resting some bodies that are hurt for the playoffs. You can't do any of these things, and you can't bring up a young kid from the league below and take a gamble on him on the wing because hey, you lose that game on the 1st of December, and you add that to the one in September, and all of a sudden your season's completely derailed. We've been asking all the imports that have been on in playing in Europe and in the UK. Obviously, the UK being a Saturday, Sunday heavy schedule. Europe, they do Friday, Sunday. Do you have a preference?
Um, well, it depends. The back-to-backs are no stranger to us in North America, um, and pretty easy to get used to. But I think what was a big struggle was maybe like a Friday night against Glasgow or a Saturday night against Glasgow, and then Sunday afternoon in Glasgow where you take the ferry at 7 a.m. That was maybe something that I didn't enjoy.
Yeah, gross.
But but I mean, I played in the East Coast where we had a week where we play. 5 games in 6 nights. So, I mean, it's no stranger to me. Would I prefer to not do them? Absolutely, but that's just the way it is.
Do you know what the best thing about 5 games and 6 nights is?
What is it?
No fucking practice.
Yeah.
Just straight games. Like I've never met a hockey player that would rather go to practice than play a game. Like, and especially like when you're in, if you're winning in that run, by the way, if you've got games coming thick and fast and you're on a heater, it's the best. But if you're on a skid and you're losing, and it's like, oh yeah, we go again tomorrow and the day after and the day after. You're like, come on, can we catch a break here? Like, what was it? What was it like in the coast in comparison to the UK in terms of travel? Obviously, you got a bit more of a unique experience playing at Belfast was home for you. It might differ for say the lads that are in Manchester, Coventry, Sheffield, a bit more central. But how was the travel schedule for you guys in comparison with the coast?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, in Belfast, it was pretty unique because we pretty much flew to everywhere except for the Scotland teams, right? But I mean, in the coast, I got pretty spoiled with the team I played for. We had some really good owners that, they listened to us at the end of every season, like, what do you guys need? What can we do better? And my first year in the coast, it was tough, and then they kind of learned some things that we were talking to them about. We would travel day before games, pretty much every single game except for the ones that were within 2 or 3 hours. Um, I think the longest trip by bus we did was maybe 6 hours, maybe
That's not too
seven
bad.
stops. But I mean, in Belfast, we got pretty spoiled with travel too. Obviously, like I said, with being on the island, it was a little different. So I'd say the travel wasn't bad in either spots. I think I just really didn't like the ferry.
Yeah, not getting private jets in Belfast though, folks. So don't get too excited. I've been on a few of those flights in and out of Belfast, and they're not that much fun. But the question I'm just looking at your, I'm going to jump right into it. You played in Jacksonville. Obviously, you can tell, ladies and gents, if you're new here because you're tuning in to see Jacob, probably tell from our logo that we might like the rough stuff a little bit here. You played with Travis Howe. Talk to me about that fucking guy because he is tougher than a night in jail. Him, Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, I could have stories for days about this guy, but I think the most important thing to touch on is that obviously he's as tough as they come, and he's would fight anyone, beat up anyone, all that stuff. But the guy's a phenomenal teammate,
Love that.
and he's doing it because he doesn't like when a player on our team like gets taken advantage of. Or, like if someone's out there running their mouth to someone that maybe can't handle themselves, then he's like doing it because he's looking out for us. And I'm sure he likes it a little bit too, because if you're that tough, you probably gotta be a little
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
But I mean, he's great. He was such a big part of our team in Jacksonville. We traded for him my first year. Funny story, we traded for him during a 14 game suspension, I think. He had traveled across the ice and warm up to skate into the other team's locker room because I'm sure someone said something that they shouldn't have said.
That's pretty gangster. I've heard
Yeah.
of guys going in the other end during warm up to maybe mix it up, get it going, patrolling the red line, but
Well, he
going
was no
into another team.
stranger to that either.
Yeah, I was gonna say going into another team locker room though, that's pretty gangster. That's pretty special. But I want to talk, and you talked about what a teammate is. So you kids out there, we talk about perseverance. I'm just gonna run through it real quick. FHL, SPHL, SPHL, Coast, Coast, Coast. One game in the A in 2018, 2019. Coast, 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 Coast. For the next 5 years. So in like a 10-year spell, he's gone through the really, really minor leagues, the FHL, the SPHL to the coast. One game in the A, 5 more years in the coast. He has now been in the A for the last 2.5 seasons as a fully fledged AHL player. So tough as you may be, great teammate as you may be, you have to have something about you to stick around at that level for that amount of time. It just show that perseverance. So proper rags to riches story. Love to read that.
Yeah, I mean, if I could touch on that too, because he's well deserving of all of the success that he's now given. Like I was talking about being a good teammate and all that stuff, but it's funny enough, he actually played NHL exhibition game this year, and
Yeah.
shooting the shit with him about it. He has now worn a professional hockey jersey in every single professional league in North America.
He has actually. That's a great
Wow,
stat. What a great stat. Love that.
that's a cool stat.
And for those that are listening on and don't really know what the FHL is, yeah, it's not a great league. I'm going to be trying to be nice here. It's not a great league. It is, you're playing for peanuts, and it is at the lowest tier. Andre Niche, my former teammate in Bainstoke, he's actually a coach down there, I believe. If you look back, maybe 3 years ago, he's the guy on the bench when they're all fighting. He's taking the suit jacket off. He's on the ice. Yeah, that's my former teammate Andre. He's down there. So there's a little bit of a UK connection with that league. And then the SPHL. Sorry to keep bringing it back to fighting, but we had a big video doing the rounds yesterday. If you haven't seen it, we shared it on our social media. Anybody see the knockout in the SPHL this week?
I didn't see that.
Woo-wee!
Don't think I have.
Cleaned his fucking clock. Like, it's very rare you get like a legitimate knockout in a hockey fight. This was, yeah, this was scary. Big bomb. Went to sleep. But shout out, is it Beers and Battered or whatever the podcast is? I can't think for the life of me. But those boys are just single-handedly keeping ice hockey fights going in North America. They're showing it. Jacob, you've had a couple of 100+ PIM seasons. Do you like to mix it up with the gloves off, or just play hard and the penalties come from that?
Yeah, I think back in juniors is kind of when that all started, but it wasn't so much that I was, going around looking for it or running my mouth or doing things that maybe I shouldn't have been doing. I think it's just the style of play I kind of grew up playing. I mean, brought a lot of attention to me from the players that were maybe looking for it, just being
Yeah,
hard to play against, open ice hits, whatever it may be. Like those things lead to scrums, which lead to fights. Obviously, it's never something that I'm really going around looking for, but I'm not one to shy away from it. And I think there's a touch tone of what I was speaking to Travis about. I obviously like sticking up for my teammates that maybe can't handle themselves or something I see that I don't like it just anything like that kind of forces me in the sense to drop the gloves, but I obviously have been able to handle myself over the year doing it, so it's come a little bit more naturally as I grew older.
you're not a small guy
Actually, I
either.
want to drop. No,
Like, you're not a small guy. Sorry, Mark. Go.
I want to drop in there on the fight topic then. Tell us about your tilt with Logan Stanley of the NHL. I had to put that in there because on the No More Drop Your Gloves, so I have to YouTube it, and that was the first one that came up.
Yeah, I remember that back in junior. We played that Windsor team. I was in Owen Sound. We played that Windsor team a lot, and they were tough for a lot of years. They had a number of different players on those teams that could handle themselves, but Logan was obviously one of their better players. So if I ever got the chance to take him off the ice, I took advantage of it. But
Smart.
I think that fight specifically, I had hit someone in the corner, and he came and kind of met me at center ice, and obviously taken without a doubt, I was going to take that exchange for sure.
That's what we call a good trade in the game, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah,
And sometimes you see a good trade, and it's good for both teams. Like, yeah, you're probably downplaying your own services a little bit there, but like different players bring different things to games, and taking someone off the ice for 5 minutes who's legit is huge. It's a big chunk of the game. Right? I know it's a 60-minute game, but you take that guy out for 5 minutes, there's no whistles. You know, his hand might be a little bit more banged up after it, might squeeze the stick a little bit tighter. It has a massive effect, not only like momentum, but just everything. Like I say, whether it be, you're carrying a little knuckle knock after it, someone passes you a back door, maybe your hand's a little bit sore. Great trades, great trades could absolutely change the game. You
Yeah, I think I
sorry, go
remember.
on.
I think I remember it was maybe a couple of weeks ago when that whole Vancouver Edmonton thing went down with the McDavid suspension and all that, and then that next game, Corey Perry was kind of, I don't know, doing Corey Perry things,
Yeah, I love
and
Corey Perry.
I think
So, what, you understand you're self-employed, right?
I certainly am, yes.
Yeah, probably quite a few people that follow your channel are as well, I would guess.
Out of our thousands of followers, I imagine quite a high percentage are, yeah, self-employed.
So the reason that I'm talking about that is there is another product called critical illness cover. Now, as a self-employed person, there's no safety net. The government's not going to pick you up off the floor, and you don't have a company to fall back on. Likewise, if you're part-time or at companies that pay just statutory sick pay, you're screwed if you get anything like a cancer, heart attack, stroke, loss of sight, loss of limb. A critical illness basically picks up the bill in that case. You get a tax-free lump sum. Normally people go for half their salary or a full year's salary, and that just basically gives them that peace of mind.
So how would that product work for someone like myself then?
So basically, if you were taken out diagnosed with, say, an advanced cancer, you'd be paid a tax-free lump sum. You can use it for whatever you like. You know, some people use it for private healthcare because the NHS is in a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
And they might want to go on holiday if they're very seriously ill and likely to pass away, or to pay off their bills and just leave the family with a bit of peace of mind.
Bit of financial security.
Absolutely.
As you've seen from my chat with Richie there, former junior teammate of mine, super easygoing guy, straight to the point, helps you out. There is no obligation at EIHL. They will look at your cover. There's no obligation. So like I can't stress that enough. They're not forcing you to do anything. They just want to get the best cover in place for you. So contact details are on the next screen here. EIHL. Scan the QR code, send them an email, give them a phone call. They will be sure to help you out, get the best deal.
his teammates spoke about it after, where they were like, he's like the best in the league at figuring out the right time and the place, and who's he going to do it with, or who's he not going to do it with, and like you just said, like if you could take one of their better players out on the ice for 5 minutes, who knows, maybe it's 7 minutes because you're not getting out till a whistle, and then like you just said, then if they're one of their better players, they're out of the game rhythm, and that's a good point to bring up.
It's just a game within a game, isn't it? And whether we're talking about patrolling the red line and fucking warm up, or in Harry's case, going into the opposing team's locker room, whatever gets you going. But like all these game within a game, it's happening every shift, it's happening in front of every net battle, every penalty kill, every power play goal scored, whatever it is. There's all these different scenarios going on within the game, and if you can get a 10%, a 5% boost for your club by doing that, fuck, crazy not to do it.
Yeah, Howie was the best at that, because when you look at that, his elite prospects there, you could see that there was one year where he got called up and then came back to our team at playoffs. And when he got called up, our team was like completely different. We not having him out there to literally police the game, like we joke about it, but him patrolling the red was no joke. Like the whole team saw no one's messing with us because Howie's out there. So we can do pretty much whatever we want, and he's gonna handle the business for us.
Got the key to the city. Here's something else that strikes me on that roster. Obviously, in the UK, we're massively used to seeing dual nats, and the dual nats tend to be, British Canadian. But actually, on your roster, that season, you had an Italian American, Nick Sarsarino. Sorry, I'm going to butcher all three of these names, by the way. Just going to get that out there right off the bat. Abbott Gerdukas, a German Canadian, and another German Canadian, Riker Killens. I probably fucked all three of those names up. But
We're
what
bad.
was it? Not bad. All right,
Not
let's
bad.
go. Let's go. I'm not a name guy, but what was it like having the dual nats come in with like the bit of the Euro flair, a bit of the Italian, a bit of German going on?
Yeah, I mean it happens a lot. I was actually thinking about this the other day. Since playing junior, I think I don't know what the number is, but the amount of players from different countries that I played with is a lot. I mean, off the top of my head, I can think of Russia, Belarus, Finland, Sweden, obviously Austria, Germany, um, Italy. Like the list goes down and on. But I mean, those guys, it's tough for those guys more to come be acquainted with us than it is for us to be acquainted with them, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
because it's new for them, it's not new for us. So I mean, it's you just try to make them feel, a part of it, just like us coming over here to Austria, they just try and make us feel part of it.
Mark, obviously you live in Austria. We were touching on, I think it was off air. I don't think we had started the podcast yet. I know you're a geography whiz, so I'm going to let you get your dick hard here a little bit. You was explaining off air exactly whereabouts Jacob's playing. So do you want to explain to the UK fan base, especially where the team plays out of this year?
Do you know what? I think quite a few of the UK fans would know purely because Vorarlberg Pioneers and Belfast have had a few transactions over the last few years. But for geography nerds and to get my dick hard, uh,
That's
the Pioneers Vorarlberg play on the far west of Austria, so on the tip on the border of Liechtenstein and Switzerland. So it's a really, really great spot. You're near the mountains. You've got Italy is not even that far away. You've got Innsbruck, which is a great spot as well. You've got hockey from. You can go to Germany for the day, watch hockey there. I mean, it's such a great location. So yeah, that's about 7 hours from Vienna, as you'll all know, which is on the far east. So
Yeah,
it's a bit like the UK in some aspects.
it's
I
like
think you're right
Basingstoke to
there.
Aberdeen by the sounds of things, Mark.
I
About
think
the
it's
equivalent.
about I think it's about six from Vienna, but you hit the nail on the head with all your points. Like there is so much around here to do. It's very Central Europe. So and yeah, we had Steve Howery here last year. He's a Belfast guy, and then me and Oliver Cooper here this year. And that's kind of how the ball got rolling with me coming here this year. Is I spoke to Steve about it a little bit, and he had a lot of good things to say, and then I actually signed before Oliver did, and then I kind of was just like, Oliver, you should come. So he came.
Yeah, let's go. When you were leaving Belfast last year, did you plan on maybe going back to Belfast? Were you just open to offers to see what the market was saying?
Yeah, I was definitely open to everything. Like I touched on earlier, me and my fiance, we both really, really liked it there, and for sure would go back, whether it was going back this season or again in the future. But I think just with the team's expectations of winning, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, we had a pretty bad season last year. Uh, so I think they maybe just wanted to move in a different direction. They never said that. Um, they
Just get the
never
feeling.
they never told me like, hey, we don't want you back. And I never like begged and pleaded them to come back. It was kind of just like I figured maybe they want to look in a different direction. So I was kind of just preparing, and Vorarlberg fell in my lap, and it was a good opportunity in a really good league, with a coach that I really enjoyed having the conversations with. Um, and I just jumped at the opportunity. I hadn't even talked to Belfast about coming back yet. I figured if they wanted to put as much effort into bringing me back, then they would have. But there was no like, yeah, we're gonna move on from you, or me saying I'm not coming back. It was just an opportunity fell in my lap, and I took it.
That's professional sport, right?
Yeah.
And like, I know for some of you fans are probably like, "Fuck, that must suck," but when you're in amongst it, that's just how it goes, man. Like, If
Yeah,
they wanted to, like you said, if they wanted to bring you back, the minute those playoffs finished, they're fucking calling you. They're letting you know. They're putting something in your ear at least, so you've got something like we're going to pay you X. We want you to play this. We want you to be on the PP1,
and I mean, hey,
PP2.
like it's no sweat off my back because it's a business, and like I understand that their expectations are to win every trophy every year. And I mean, that was my expectation coming into the year was I wanted to win all three trophies. I mean, it's not often you get to go to the best team in the league and get a chance to win. And our season was tough. Maybe I didn't play the best I could have every single game. Maybe that was the adjustment to the UK league, whatever it may be, but I don't fault them for not putting as much effort into they could to bring me back. I mean, maybe if I waited 2 more weeks, maybe the conversation would have started. But just the way that the cookie crumbles, and like you said, it's that's pro sports. I've been through it for 6 years now. Like it's totally.
Yeah, like the good thing you have in Europe versus North America. Like when you're in the A, you get sent down to the coast, and these things happen. When you sign for a team over here, it's either shit or bust. Like, if you don't come to work, you're getting fucking sacked. Like, you're done. Like, there is no, hey, why don't you go down to the farm team and have a skate for a couple of weeks, get your fitness back. It's either put up or shut up. And I kind of like the fact that you do have the guys you have is what you have, and you just got to ride them into battle. So like when you're in Belfast, that's how it is. Although Belfast do have almost like the luxury of riches. They can bring guys in. They're not like some of the clubs in the UK who maybe don't have the finances or like the ability to go out and just get extra ITC cards, get extra imports. Austria, Mark, we've seen Austria. They'll make a change if they need to. They'll bring
Yeah,
in a
not
big guy
afraid.
if they're not afraid to make a change, and they'll bring in a big guy if like someone gets released from an NHL contract and stuff like that. We've seen it with Vienna. Obviously, my whole like Austrian hockey knowledge is pretty much Vienna, which is pretty much through him. So, excuse me if I reference Vienna Capitals quite a lot, but what's the boy they've just signed there now, Mark?
Barbarossa.
Yeah, like
It's been there a few months now, but yeah, legit.
legit players. What have you found the difference in standard between Austria and the Elite League? Fuck, did I steal your question? Sorry, bro.
You fucking, that's okay.
Telepathic vibes. But yeah, Jacob,
Cool.
what's been the major difference between like the Elite League and the Austrian League? Obviously, the import numbers are different, so the more homegrown players in Austria versus the UK. But the leagues as a whole, where would you compare, and what would you say is like a more difficult league to play in?
Yeah, so I think the best. My coach was asking me this a couple of weeks ago or a couple months ago or whatever, but I think that the best teams in Sheffield or in the UK, whether that being Sheffield, Belfast,
Or did it
Guildford.
slip there? Fucking hell! You're gonna have the Belfast Giants fans in your ats and in your mentions.
Well, it's tough to say anything else considering they won all three last year and I was playing in the
Good point.
league.
Yeah, it's a good point.
But I'm just thinking those top teams like in the UK that every year they're always there, right? I think
Yeah,
those teams would easily be a top eight team in this league. Maybe they're not first, maybe they're not, but they're definitely not like 10th
Yeah,
or maybe they are, but like depending on the year. But the top teams in that league will be very, very competitive. I think that um, the top teams in this league have a little bit more higher end talent, just being that their imports are, I think Graz had Corbinian Holzer, who's got like 400
yeah,
NHL thing, and like
that's
they're
not bad.
signing players, like you just said, they don't have a contract this year. They played in the American League slash NHL last year, and they're signing them in December because they got nowhere else to go. But they can get paid good money. I think Bonino plays on Ljubljana. That guy's won Stanley Cup or something. So I mean, the top end talent in this league probably better than the top end talent in the UK, but there's more players to bring in to the UK. I think there's 14 imports or something.
maybe
So
even
there's
more.
more of those good players to bring in that would kind of counteract the more top end talent. So I think that the easiest answer is it's a pretty comparable league. Maybe the bottom end teams in this league would beat the bottom end teams in the UK. But to say that there's a big disparity, I don't think that that's true. I mean, if you look at our CHL games last year, we beat Bolzano and Salzburg. Salzburg won the league last year. This year, Sheffield did. I don't know if they played a ICHL team, but I mean, look, they obviously made the playoffs, so that's a
Yeah, they were
big.
legit.
Yeah.
We've had the two previous guests prior to yourself. We had Tansy and then Champinium, and like we were just running through the results. They had Prague, AIK, Vaxo Lakers, Pardubice. It's like I don't. This is probably more of an equivalent for you football fans that are new to hockey might come across the podcast. This is like Reading beating Bayern Munich, fucking Barcelona, Man United, and Chelsea in 4 out of 7 games. It's fucking wild.
Yeah, I think the CHL draw is a cool thing where I've only played the 1 year, but I kept tabs on it before where you would play the same team or the same couple teams like more than once. I think the playing the new teams every single time gives a little bit of an edge to the quote unquote weaker teams in the
The
draw.
underdogs,
Exactly, because I'm sure if they played Zurich 10 times, they'd probably lose 8 times. You know what I mean?
at least, yeah.
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 And that's what I said to Tansy when they came on here. I was like, sorry, bro, but like I was literally until the fever started. But the hockey realist in me, and from going across Europe and seeing these teams and seeing, I was like, when I saw the draw, I thought you boys didn't stand a fucking chance. Like literally zero, not even like a 1% chance, like a flat zero, no chance to beat Prague, no chance to beat Pardubice. You know, like Zurich Lions are in the Champions League final. Those guys only lost to them 2-1 in Zurich in a shootout.
Yeah.
Like, fair play to Sheffield. Fair play to all the boys that took part and actually went on that run. Obviously, they run into a Berlin team. DEL is a very good league, and you run into a hot Berlin team. There's not really a lot you could do there. Jacob, you are currently in Austria. Do you have obviously you and your missus have done Belfast, now you're doing Austria, you're getting in a beautiful spot there. But do you have more ambition to see like a bit more of Europe, maybe different leagues, different spots, or just kind of play this year out and then see what opens up?
Yeah, I think we kind of had a bit of a plan coming over here, um, where we're young, we don't really have much responsibilities other than, I mean,
Enjoy it,
family.
my friend.
Yeah, like so we
Yeah.
just we
Enjoy
kind
that
of
shit.
just we kind of just take it like year by year. So last year we were pumped about Belfast. We absolutely loved it. Uh, we just kind of, with the way the season again went, again, we don't need to open that can of worms again, but we kind of just wanted to see, hey, maybe there's something else out there that is cool. And this season, similar to last year, with a little bit, well, sorry, much, much lower expectations from the team. But it hasn't been the most successful for myself, just from injuries and all that stuff. But we're kind of in the same boat where it's like, let's see what happens. Um, we're always looking for places to play that we would enjoy, not so much just, a lot of guys can get into that whole debacle of just chasing money around. That's not really what we're after. We're kind of looking for experiences, find a place that maybe entices us to stay there for a few years, but who really
Develop some
knows?
roots for a little while.
So we're kind of just playing it year by year, like you said.
Oh, sorry. I was going to go
Oh,
back to
sorry,
the
mate.
Champions. I was going to go back to the Champions Hockey League, actually. Sorry to jump on this, but I wanted to ask. You've said yourself it wasn't the most successful season in Belfast. I don't want to keep playing on that. I wanted to ask, do you think the CHL had a massive impact or any impact on like your season, your regular season? Because I've found that when Sheffield went through their hard run this year, they had so many injuries off the back of it. And I kind of feel that it's kind of weak in their position to fight for top spot now. It might be unfair of me to say that. I respect Sheffield and think they have great players, but that we're in a league where every game really counts, and the Champions Hockey League I think ultimately made them suffer.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with that one because our season last year, it almost sounds like you're describing our season. We played those. I mean, I got there, I think 10 days before we played our CHL games, and our first 3 months was just like minimum 2, 3 games a week. And it was, I mean, the UK League Saturday, Sunday, and then every once in a while you throw in a midweek Challenge Cup game. And then now you got to throw in another CHL game. And like you just said, I didn't keep tabs with the injuries on Sheffield this year, but last season we had an absolute boatload of injuries. We were playing some games. I think we played one game in Nottingham with 3.5 D, and I say half because I love the guy, but Aaron Long was playing D for us that game. So we played with
Love kid.
with 4D in Nottingham. I think all of us had over 25 minutes in playing time, but like you just said, like, and especially for Sheffield this year and us last year, we played so hard in those CHL games because we were that underdog and we wanted to prove ourselves. And I mean, it takes a lot out of you to travel, halfway across the globe and then come back and then play in a extremely meaningful elite league game.
In Fife away, and it's fucking
Yeah.
-4
Yeah.
outside. Yeah, yeah. -4 outside, -6 in the locker room. It's like, yeah, let's go.
So I think you're right. Like last year it really hurt us, but I'm so glad that we did it and that we were able to do it. And it sounds like what you're saying, it's hurting Sheffield this year. I know they're still in contention on that top spot. I check
Yeah.
out that's those standings every few weeks, but maybe if they didn't play those games, maybe they'd be in first. Who knows?
The interesting thing
By the
about
way,
that is
disclaimer before all the oranges start abusing me for the rest of my life. I'm not saying you're out of the title race. I'm just saying it's had an effect on your season. Thank you very much.
yeah, he said, "Fuck you guys." Um, like the interesting thing is, Tansy and Champs both said like last year, Sheffield as a club, injury free. You know, they maybe missed 20 man games all season or whatever. Like it's very, very low. This year, let's times that by 6. All of a sudden, you got 120, 130 man games out the roster. I mean, Cardiff Devils are going through it right now. Oliver Hampson, the Devils social media guy down there, he put a list of the guys that were out for for Cardiff at the moment. They got like 9 top 3 line guys missing. Like you can't do it. They lose. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, they were 3-2 up against the Blaze at home, then they lost." Yeah, because guess what? When you're on the second night of 2 games with fucking 12 guys, ice hockey is very hard. It's a fucking hard sport, and you're probably going to run out of gas in the third of that second day when you're running. You said like having 3.5 D. Like this shit's real. This does happen throughout the year, and it isn't like the A and the coast where you just bring the next 2 guys that are in line up. There's no one to bring up. Like that's your lot. You,
Yeah,
you
we
go.
had a couple of those games last year where we were down bodies. Like it wasn't just D, it was forwards too. I think there was one game last year we may have only had 8 forwards, or we started with 9 and someone got hurt during the game or something. And I think we had one of our forwards, Blake Spears. I think he had a game where he was up over 30 minutes. He was playing every other shift the whole game, and forward playing over 30 minutes is a little bit unheard of.
Yeah, I. That's a tough night at the office for the forwards. Mark, if you don't have anything else current, I would like to take it back right the way back to your junior days. You played in the Ontario Junior Hockey League, and then from there you went on to the OHL. You played for Owen Sound Attack. Talk us through kind of like the end of your midget kind of AAA sort of stuff and getting picked up by Owen. Was Major Junior something that was like always on your radar?
Funny enough, man, like it it wasn't really like it's a wild story I can tell you about in just a sec, but like for me as a kid, like I grew up in a small town. We all just played hockey just because it was like Canada and that's what you do, and it was fun, and like everyone at school did it. I wasn't even playing in a good team. It's a little different in Canada. We have AAA, which is the best, and I was playing AA for my whole life, just with my buddies, like having fun. And then the OHL draft year, I made the AAA team. I didn't have a good year. It was just normal, like whatever. It was fun. The next year, I played for a major midget AAA team, which is kind of like taboo hockey in Ontario. It's like something you if you do, you kind of suck, for lack of a better way to say it. But I mean, to be fair to me, like I did suck, but the team that we played on, we had these young coaches that were unreal. I think they were, it's funny, I look back now, they're younger than me now when they were coaching me, but
Oh,
we
really?
had a really
Wow.
good team. We were the best team in the country. We won the Ontario championships, and I just had a good season, and I think it was just because I was having fun. We had good coaches, and then went to London Knights rookie camp. Um, this is where the story can get a little long, so just cut me off if you got it. But but went to London Knights rookie camp and had I got sick. I got food poisoning and sucked. I lost like 10 pounds that week. Um,
Gross.
and it just sucked. So they obviously released me, and then um maybe
One
like
sec
two,
before you go on from there.
yeah.
I would love to know how they released you because I've coached within like the Southwest Conference, which it's changed now. But when I was coaching growing up, Southwest Conference kind of like select teams, from like the 10 teams from the Southwest, 10 teams from the North, and you pick the guys. I think once you get to your kind of age, there should be a certain way of releasing people. I mean, i.e., not sending emails to fucking mums and dads. Like when you got cut from there, did you get told like a big boy that, hey, you're done here? How did it work?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what happened there was it was just like list of players you're meeting with the GM today. It's just a one-on-one like talk, and he basically just called me in and just was like, how do you think you did? And I was like, well, to be honest, I think I sucked. So, and then he was like, yeah, I think that you got some stuff you need to work on, and maybe if you work on it, maybe next year it'll be better. But it was one-on-one, face-to-face.
Mano to mano. And even if you can't agree with their decision, even if you do agree with their decision, you got to respect the fact that it's to your face. That was one of the hard things that I found being a coach. I've then got for one, some of these kids that were coming to trials should have never been at trials. They weren't fucking ever remotely going to be good enough. Their coaches knew that when they sent them. The kids themselves probably knew they were nowhere fucking near it. But you look around the local area and you go, right, that guy's a stud. This guy's going here. This. And if you're
Yeah.
playing like two, three leagues down and you're turning up for the trial and trying to get the same spot as that guy, you're probably not going to get it. And I just found and I can imagine it being even worse now with the world we live in. But it was just so like pussyfooting around stuff. I was like, these are like fucking 16, 17-year-old men. Some of them have got apprenticeships. Some are going to be around to fix the electrics in your house next week. I'm sure if we talk to them like men, they could progress like men. But instead, it was like, let's send an email to their parents.
Well, funny enough, you were talking about that because in minor hockey in Ontario, um, I mean, I got cut from AAA every year, so it was the same thing. It was one-on-one. It was the coach. He called me in. It wasn't with my parents. It was just me and him, and he just would tell me, yeah, like you're not good enough this year. Maybe next year he cut me. And I think to get back onto that story of how it all started in Owen Sound, I think that those moments of like a kid getting cut for so many years, it was just like, ah, it's just whatever. Like maybe a kid who had never been told that he sucked before would handle that so much differently than me because 2 weeks or 2 months, I can't remember later, I was in Owen Sound's training camp. Um, and I'm sure maybe a kid who's never been cut before would have crumbled, but I had a really, really good training camp, and I never had my name on that list for that meeting. And by the end of the training camp, they asked if I wanted to play, and
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah, 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 let's go. Yeah,
No.
probably. Yeah, I reckon we should do it.
The funny part about this story is um, it's a two-parter, but the only reason I even got to go to Owen Sound's training camp is because Owen Sound's first round pick didn't report and got traded to London, where I got cut. And
Thanks.
then there was an open D spot in the Owen Sounds training camp. And it was just literally, I was a local to the GM. He lives in the same hometown as me. And he was just like, hey, do you want to come? Like, we just need someone to fill in last minute. And
Kind of like
then
a next man up kind of job. Like, oh
it
yeah,
was
you'll do.
literally like he was like, he tells me this now because we still keep tabs, but I had zero expectation of you making it past like the first day.
Yeah. Cheers, bro. Thanks. Cheers, buddy. I love that.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you then, because it has worked out, and you're getting paid to play, and you're getting paid to travel the world. Where the fuck would you have been in your life now, or your hockey career right now, had that, do you know, like that little
Yeah.
thing hadn't transpired the way it had, and you get gas from the team, they pick the guy up, that spot opens up, you end up taking his spot, and now fucking with what 12 plus year or 10 years later, and you're now living on the border of Switzerland and Austria and living your best life. Like,
I have
where would you have ended up?
I have no idea, man. I think about that all the time because the guy who was Owen Sound's first round draft pick was Victor Mete, who ended up playing in the NHL, and I was like, I like thank him every day. I'm like, thank you for being too good to go play in Owen Sound.
Yeah,
That's where I went. I have no
just
idea what I'd be doing otherwise, but that's just the way life works, isn't it?
it's easy though to like in these scenarios when you hear these kind of stories to focus on like the negative. Oh yeah, you got cut, but actually, and you getting cut was probably the best thing that's ever happened for your hockey career. And one of the, I had one going back to like when I was coaching the conference setup. I had a really stacked team that year. Like I was stacked, and these tournaments you generally take 10-6, 10-7. It's a showcase. You don't want four lines. You want the best kids because they should condense games, put them out there. And I was down to like the last forward, and I was torn between two guys. And this is why it can work out for both of you, and this is why I like this story. So I picked Jordan Kelsall, who's now playing the Elite League for Nottingham Panthers. I took him in the last spot, and I cut a kid named Tyler Cooper. And Tyler was a good hockey player, by the way. Like some years you have those teams, and it's so easy to cut the bottom guys out of it. This was like a 51%, 49%, right up until the minute I had to make the fucking decision. I was like, this way, that way, this way. I took Jordan. Jordan scores the game winner in the final. Tyler Cooper signs for Shattuck St. Mary's the next year. Shove that right up your fucking hoop. I'm like, okay, but like in that, although he got cut, he didn't sulk, he didn't fucking bitch, he didn't cry. I didn't get emails from his mum and dad asking why little Johnny didn't get in the team. He just went right along and signed for Shattuck and shoved it in my hoop. But in the same sense, you had the other kid who did make it, who did score the game-winning goal in the final, and is now playing the Elite League. and will be playing in the Elite League for the next however many years he wants to. I know he's got a very good job now, but like you can get wins from both things, and your scenario just proves that yeah, you got cut, but actually you end up wearing a C for Owen Sound in your senior year. Just goes show like how far you can go from just one little decision.
Yeah, like I think about that too when I was in London, like they actually, they wanted me there for a reason. And of all the weeks in that summer for me to get food poisoning, that was the week I got food poisoning. And I was like, what? Like, this is the worst thing that could have ever happened to me. Like, this is so bad. During that week, these are my thoughts, right? And then you
Yeah,
look
of
back,
course.
you look back, like you said, like 10 whatever years later, it's like, thank goodness I got sick. Otherwise, who knows? Maybe they bring me back
Yeah,
to main
thank
camp a
fuck.
minute.
But man, it's just all these little decisions that can change absolutely everything. Right, let's
Did you know? Sorry, I have to stick with the Owen sound. Did you know in 2016-17 you played with Nick Price? Nick Price played here for the NIHL National, the second tier in the UK, for the Bristol Pitbulls. Just a weird fact for you.
Yeah, I actually, um, I really liked Nick. He had a tough go when I was playing a junior with him, just with the coaches and stuff. But I really liked him. I think he liked me. He still keeps in contact with me. He talked to me about going over to England and stuff. So I liked him.
Mark. I'm glad you explained that because I was fucking sinking there. You said his name, like I was like, do you know when you hear something? And I'm like, yeah, I know, and I couldn't think, and then he said Bristol. Yeah, like he done well for Bristol.
Yeah.
He done well for Bristol, and fair play to him. Bristol, I don't know. I don't know what they need to do, but they need to do something different where they're not a basement dwelling club because the fans have shown the appetite. Like they'd sell that barn out every fucking week. Imagine if you give them something to cheer about instead of being a bottom place team. Imagine if Bristol were like competing third, fourth in the league. That place would be jumping. Like, oh, here's a question for you, Jacob. What did you make of the fans in the UK?
They're unreal. I mean, they brought the passion that they have for football to ice hockey, um, and I mean, how can you not like them? They showed up every single night, whether it was a cup game, CHL game, or league game. I mean, they showed up and they were as rowdy every game as you could be, and they were nice, like off the ice when they would see you
Just
in
not on
the.
Twitter.
I was gonna I was gonna add that later, but luckily I don't have Twitter, so I didn't catch any of the heat. I'm sure it was there, but I didn't see it.
Oh yeah, it would have been for sure.
I didn't see it, so it wasn't there. I don't know. But when you see them out on the streets, they were nice and they weren't throwing food at you, so that's important.
You I'm just gonna start name dropping some NHL guys from your time at Owen Sound. Nick Suzuki, obviously with the Habs, he played a big part in a lot of your years at Owen Sound. What was it like playing with that guy?
It was a lot of fun. I mean, you can see that I think I had two pretty offensively productive years in the OHL, and I bet you at least half the points are simply because of Nick, whether it's passing to him,
Breakout passes, yeah, like in your own zone.
the points from the bench when you pass it to him, he skates through the whole team and then scores. But
Yeah, you're
he's
like you're at the back of the bench, like ooh, I guess try to suck some wind in.
he's a special player, man. Like you could see it from when I saw him when he was 16 until I left, and I mean there was no doubt that he's legit and he's a good kid. He's got I'm sure they still tell this today, but he's got like just enough confidence where it's like on the brink of being cockiness, but it's like he's found like the perfect amount where he's not cocky, but it's like he's really confident in himself.
Well, I mean, to
Uh,
be as good as he is in the NHL, I think you have to have a bit of fuck you about you.
Yeah, and he's definitely got it.
Here's another question for you, man. So, OHL. notoriously has been one of the best leagues, producing the best players for as long as time could tell. You get to play with a guy like Nick, but looking back over your career now versus 2025 and where the guys are playing, who's like some of the biggest studs that you played against your OHL career?
Well, the easiest one is obviously Connor McDavid.
McJesus.
That's
He's pretty good at hockey, eh?
that's the easiest one to answer, right? But I mean, in like you said, like the OHL. Now, if this was in Canada, you talking about all the UK fans being on you, you would have all the QMJHL and WHL fans all over you saying
Ah, suck
HL
it.
is not the best league. But in the biased opinion, like yeah, like especially the years that I played, like there's been so many like good OHL players that have moved on to be like pure NHL superstars. Um, so I think yeah, maybe it was the best league when I was playing, but like Connor
I
McDavid,
agree.
I always hated I always hated playing against uh, Travis Konechny because when you see him
Snob.
play now, he was like that when he was a teenager, except there was like
Gross.
he was a teen like he was 19 doing that against like 17, 16-year olds and he's doing the same thing. And there was DeBrincat in there,
But
Strom was in there.
another good
There's a lot of
player.
like good junior players that didn't turn out to be NHL superstars that I always thought were who were going to be. But I think the most memorable few are obviously McDavid, DeBrincat, and Strome are all one line, and then
It's not
connecting.
really fair, is it? This is like when you put it out there like that, it's just not really fair.
Well, the team that I finished, um, Erie, that year had we lost to them. My 19 year, we lost to them in the finals, and the next season they had five players playing in the NHL, and
So good. Just
usually
so good.
usually you get like five players playing in like the American League, but they had guys five full time in the NHL.
Bit special.
How many boys do you remember from your kind of major junior days that went on to follow your kind of path, where they've come over to Europe and they've gone to Germany, gone to the Dell, they've gone to the SHL? Because like making the NHL is fucking. For those that are not really familiar, that don't follow the NHL in the UK, you have less than this amount of chance to get into the NHL. Like we're talking the nib of this pen is the percentage of a fucking chance that you have to make the show. You can still be an unbelievable ice hockey player and not play in the NHL. Like we've seen it in this country, let alone what you would have seen in Major Junior. How many boys do you know that like left there, went to the SHL, KHL, DEL, wherever it may be?
Yeah, I think that I can think of like a handful that were were good that probably could have played in the NHL if maybe they just had a little something more, but it just wasn't there. And then that little gap is what makes you not be in the NHL, but they're still so good that like I can think of two, Adam Askren and Thomas Shemitz. I think they both played in the SHL. I think Shemitz plays in the DEL right now. Um, Another one I could think of is that I played against is Dane Fox. He played in the DEL forever. Like these guys all were top end talents that probably could have played in the NHL, but they still two of them still make a serious career out of, I mean, making a lot of money living in Europe.
Better than working in the mine, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Few
there's a lot
prairie
worse
boys
things,
out there.
there's a lot worse things that you could be doing.
And that's it. Like I think sometimes the leagues in Europe get disrespected by North Americans. And I'm going to put a little mark disclaimer in there. I mean, Americans, Canadians that don't know Europe and they don't know the game and have fucking no idea like how good the DEL is, how good the SHL is, how good these guys actually are because it's not the NHL. Like there's some legitimately good leagues in Europe where you can make some legitimately good money. And when the other option is soggy subs in the fucking coast and getting sent down every other week in the a lot of guys are going to take it. Doesn't mean they're not amazing ice hockey players.
Yeah, I mean, I can attest to that because I mean I've done both. I've done the soggy subs. I've done the sent down from the American League. I've done the Europe. So I mean, I think that we're blinded as teenagers in the OHL thinking like we play against these first round picks and we do well. Like, I mean, I had a very successful OHL career and I played against extremely successful NHL players. And I thought like, why would I ever go play in some European league and make a tenth of what I could in the NHL when it's not even that good? Like I had those thoughts. Like I'm not like it's the way you're blinded by this NHL and this American League.
NHL or bust kind of thing.
Yeah, like I remember thinking like I don't want to play in the American League my whole life. Like I can't do that. But I mean guys do it and they make a lot of money and it's an extremely good league. And I mean the leagues over here are even better. The DEL, the SHL, National League in Switzerland. Obviously you have the KHL, like those are seriously good hockey players. Like those are guys who played in the NHL or who could have played but decided something else. And I think we're just blinded by this, like you just said, this NHL or bust. Like the NHL is all we strive for, where you talk to the guys over here, like you talk to these local Austrian kids, and they're like, we don't even care about the NHL. Like we just want to play for our pro team. We just want to play, until we can't, or maybe
So we
we
have to get a
make,
real job.
yeah, maybe they make it like these guys from Valberg, like maybe they make it to Zurich. Like that's their NHL for them.
You still make
Yeah.
like fucking $400,000 a year playing or well, if you're a stud, you can make more than that playing in Switzerland. But like, if you're a line two, line three, line four guy, you can make 200, 300, 400, $500,000 or euros, sorry, a year. Like in the real world, you would have to be fucking surgeon to be making that kind of dough. Like you're gonna have to have a really, really, really highly paid job to be able to pull in that kind of money. And you're doing that playing a sport you fucking love. Chances are in a beautiful spot across Europe somewhere. You've got a
I think
lightened
that there,
travel load. Like, what's not to like?
I think there may be like a little bit of ignorance too from the
100%.
American and Canadian side, like because I mean Americans and Canadians have notoriously been like, and I'm not gonna take anything away from Switzerland, Finland, Sweden. Like Canada has been pretty dominant in the hockey world for a long time. Things are changing now, I will say that. America had always been right there. So like I think, and maybe this is my ignorance talking again, but I think that we just think we're the best. So why would we go play somewhere that isn't the best, maybe?
Until it comes down to tournaments and then you fucking choke.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's definitely changing.
Yeah.
No, I'm just getting that in there now because hey, I've never been able to do that in my life because Canada have always been the best, and I may not get a chance to do it again because it won't be long before the next cream stud of the O, the Q, the WHL come out, and all of a sudden Canada are going to be an absolute wagon again. Like, look at their team for the.
Celebrity.
That kid's nasty. There is some great hockey players, but for whatever reason, when it comes down to the tournament, they've been choking a little bit lately, which is a surprise because, like I said, in my youth, growing up, I'm 11 years older than you, Jacob. So, me and my dad actually sat down yesterday, and I went to see my dad because he's babysitting the boy, and I put some YouTube like hockey videos on, and we watched the the 1996 where Canada lost to the States in the final, and it was when all the NHL guys. You had like fucking Theo Fleury on the fourth line, Brendan Shanahan on the fourth line. Like, you got like the team was a joke. Lindros, everybody was there. The great one, Lemieux declined, but like you're looking and you're like they have five first lines, and Canada have always had that, and I think they will come again. Like they're gonna come again where we go, oh, Canada won the last four world championships. Shock horror, shock horror. But like uh, as a Canadian, like, does it piss you off that you guys aren't winning as much anymore?
You know what? Like you, I mean, I'm a little bit younger than you, but when I was a kid, I remember the biggest thing for us was like the World Juniors.
Oh yeah.
And
Love it.
when I was a kid, I think I could have this so wrong, but I swear we won like 15 of like 20 World Juniors my first 20 years of being a kid in Canada. But I don't think that what I think has happened is I don't think that Canada has gotten worse. I think that the rest of the world has gotten a lot better.
Agree.
Yeah.
Maybe this is my ignorance talking again because I don't want to say Canada is not good, but like it's hard to say that they're not. But I think that these players who started coming up in like the Four Nations thing. So we want to talk about just Finland and Sweden specifically. Like those two teams have gotten so much better since I don't know 2000. Like there is some serious superstars in the league and has been for a long time and for will be for years to come. I think that it's not so much Canada and the US getting worse. I think it's the rest of the world, you name the best hockey countries, are getting a lot better.
Well, Germany were in a Olympic game final. Like when was that heard of 30 years ago? Like you either it was
Yeah.
USSR, it was Canada. Like they were the hockey nations. There are nations coming that have done good things. Germany being the main protagonist, they've been fucking excellent. I mean, it doesn't hurt having Leon Draisaitl in your lineup. The guy's absolute just a weapon. Right, we kept you for a while. I want to talk about one more part of your career before we let you go. You left the OHL as captain. You were drafted in the seventh round to the Kings, I believe. Kings. Yeah.
LA Kings, yeah.
So obviously, when you're in the seventh round, you're not there going up on the big stage. How did you find out? And did you get to go to many training camps? And that kind of leads me into the final point of that question is why after the OHL did you decide to go down the U sport route and not the pro route?
Funny, you're asking the questions that bring out probably the best stories of my hockey career. So this is
Let's
a good.
go. Let's
Happy
go.
days.
Yeah, when I was I was drafted after basically my first full season in the OHL. I had a pretty good season, surprised myself. Like I said, I thought I sucked, so surprised myself. Um, there wasn't much thought of getting drafted up until maybe like the end of the season, where I started having meetings with some clubs. I had a lot of meetings with LA, so I thought maybe if there was a chance that it would be LA. I knew they had a fifth and a seventh round pick. I don't know if they had a sixth, maybe they did, and I just am blanking on the next year or something. But so I knew there was a chance late, um, but I wasn't going to go because there was no point of me going if I didn't for sure know. So I was just at home, and me being the small town kid that I am, needing money because my parents won't just give me money. I was working at a fireworks trailer,
Nice.
and uh, the draft is always at the end of June, and July 1st is a big deal in Canada. So it was a very busy fireworks trailer because everyone's buying fireworks. So the GM at the time was Dean Lombardi, and I wasn't watching the draft because, like I said, I was too busy. And he rang me on my phone, unknown number. I was like, no idea who this is. And I picked it up, and it was him, and he was just like, hey. Dean Lombardi, general manager of the Kings, like we just drafted you in the seventh round, gave the whole spiel, blah 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 blah, and then that's how I found out. Funny enough,
Did you try and sell him some rockets? He's be like, yeah, we got a wicked deal right now. Let's
it's
go.
funny though. It's funny because he was like, "What are you doing?" I told him I was working. He's like, "Oh, like you got to stop working. Like you don't need to work
Yeah, you're
anymore."
done. Yeah, you're
And
done.
I'm thinking like, I'm pretty sure I'm still gonna need to work. Like you're not paying me today, are you? But I actually found
I'll
out
take it. Like, let's go. Bring it.
my one of my best friends who lives like around the corner from me, like in Bowmanville, where I'm from, he got drafted that same day. He was in the fifth round to Jersey, and then funny enough, he saw my name on the board and texted me before Dean Lombardi had even called me. So like my childhood friend from around the corner was the one who found out before I did because he was just happened to be there that day.
Love that.
But
What? Yeah,
sorry,
sorry.
go ahead.
I was gonna say, what did it feel like to get drafted?
It was it was like an extremely proud moment for me because like like I said, like small town, just did it because I loved it. And my parents did like so much to bring me to tournaments that wasn't gonna lead to anything. Like it was just because I liked it. Like I was playing double A hockey my whole life, and even when I played triple A, it was just for fun. So they were doing it just because I liked it. And then it was almost like a sense of pride to kind of pay it back to them type thing to have my name in that league forever, and it's their name too. So it's like almost like a sense of pride to do it for them. And then for myself, obviously, I was like, look at where I am, look where I came from. So it was a big deal. It was fun.
Did you go to training camps after getting drafted?
Yeah, so I did that for 2 seasons because the way it works when you're a CHL player is they own your rights for 2 years and then they have to either sign you or just like release you. So I did that for 2 years, rookie camp, development camp, and main camp for 2 seasons. First season I was at main camp, which is like where it's like the NHL training camp with like the Drew Dowdys, Anze Kopitars, all that bunch. Only for a couple days, and then the next year I was there for a couple weeks. So I actually had like actually had some run-ins with them, talking with those guys, playing with them on the ice, all that stuff. Like it was, and that was
Some per diem packages as well, like
yeah, that was the nice part for sure.
yeah, yeah, for sure, right?
But I mean, it was cool. Like that was right after kind of like their dynasty where they still had that like core group of I mean, people I grew up watching, like Anze
Legends.
Star, Drew Doughty, Dustin Brown, Jonathan Quick. Like these were some I mean Hall of Fame
Big
players.
names.
Got to share
They're
the ice.
household names, those boys.
And I got
Like, if
and
you
they
watch
just
hockey, you know who they are.
yeah, like those guys were the club in the NHL for like 5+ years, and it was cool just to kind of be a part of it.
What do you make of their new crop of? Obviously, I imagine with your connection to the club that you kind of watch the draft the last 3 4 seasons coming into now. What do you make of their new crop of young studs they got coming through? They got some weapons on that roster.
Yeah, I think they're legit. Like, there's a couple names there that I played with in Ontario. Well, I mean, I didn't play, but I was there for quite some time, and then obviously seeing them all in camp. There's still some left. I'm a bit far removed where some of these really young studs I never got to really play with in the camps in Ontario and stuff, but I think they're legit. I've heard rumbles that they're trying to make some big moves at the deadline. Lord knows I don't exactly have connections. I'm kind of just going off what the media says, but I think they're legit. Like they obviously just have to deal with Edmonton every year, which is
Not
um,
fun.
but just to go back to that other part of your question about going to U Sports. Um, After that 2 years since I was drafted a year late, that was the end of my OHL career, and that's when I had gone up to Ontario and spent about a month and change, maybe a little bit less, I don't know, there. And that's when they kind of told me, look, we're not going to offer you an NHL contract, but we're going to offer you a one-way American League deal. You don't have to say yes now, but that's what we're going to move forward with. They gave their reasons. I'm not, who knows if they're real or whatnot, but it was almost like I got cut again, because
Just thanks.
you want
I've
that
seen this
NHL
before.
contract.
Yeah.
But I just decided, living in California and paying California income tax,
Yeah,
um,
that's pretty
and with the
gross.
money that they had offered me, I was just like, I don't even know if it's worth it. I've been talking to quite a few schools, and we had a pretty good compensation package from the OHL and from the school, so the difference in money wasn't exactly that much. And
So did you have to pay towards going to school then?
no, so the way it works in the OHL is the OHL pays for your schooling.
For every year you do, they give you a year, right? Yep.
Exactly. And then going to play out east in Canada, they also give you full ride scholarship. So
Oh, okay, nice.
it was like double tuition type thing. So I wasn't getting paid to play, but was getting more money in scholarships than I needed to pay. So I mean, read between
Yeah.
the lines.
I mean,
Uh,
like you weren't going dry of beer at the team house parties, right?
no, and Halifax is where I went to school, and it's got a lot of similarities to Belfast. So
Oh yeah, those Newfies like to fucking sauce, right?
yeah, those guys are something special. All East Coasters, anywhere from New Brunswick east, or those guys drink like fish.
Yeah, fucking right.
You,
What was the couple more questions for you? What was the school experience like and the level of hockey like in comparison to what you used to coming from Major Junior?
The Yeah, so the level of school was amazing. I absolutely love school. I had so much fun, met great people there. It was a blast. The level of play was definitely a lot different than Major Junior because you don't have those NHL first round, second round, third round picks. It was different. Um,
Bit of an easier night for a D-man then, yeah?
yeah, it was it now I don't want to take too much away from it because it was definitely a challenge. Like it wasn't like I was out there. I mean, you saw my point totals, like they were drastically different than they were in the OHL. Maybe that's because I didn't have Nick Suzuki on my team. I don't know. But
Might be part of it,
but
yeah.
there you talk about those guys that play in high-end leagues in Europe. Like there's some guys that I played against and played with that they play in some high-end leagues in Europe and
I,
they make that money that you were talking about. So I mean there's
yeah,
that,
man.
but there's less of it where where it is a little bit, it's not quite as good, but it's also come a long way where it's a seriously well respected league. I think that the new rule changes of OHL being able to go to NCAA, I think it's going to be a big hit to that league, but
It's going to be catastrophic, isn't it, really?
it's
yes.
pretty much end the
It
competitive
probably
hockey in Canadian U sport, or like in university. But
so
uh,
many guys are going to go down the NCAA route out of Major Junior now.
I have to
Like,
say that I'm pretty envious because that would have been a lot of fun.
yeah, it would have. Yeah, who am I kidding? Yeah, it'd have been legit. Going to like Boston College or something after 4 years playing in the O, especially if you're a late bloomer, man. Like, and you want hockey. Like a lot of guys couldn't give a fuck. They're gonna go to college. They're gonna ride that full ride into the bargain. They're gonna party at every opportunity because they want to be a merchant banker or they want to be a shit hot lawyer. They just played hockey because they were good at it. They don't give a fuck about hockey. Like some guys are going to use that, but some guys want to play hockey. And if you're a late bloomer, you start even blooming like into your second year, third year in the O. Start filling out into your body a little bit. Start putting some mass on. Start getting physically stronger. But you're still behind the guys that did that at 15, 14. Because guess what? Even though they did that at 15, 14, They've had 5 extra years of being some guys are just specimens, right? They're just absolute tanks from shaving at 13 and shit. Like just men before they were even boys. Like
I think that's kind of where the discrepancy in the level of play comes in the esports is there's that handful of guys on the roster that they don't really care about hockey. They're just like you said, they're there to get their degrees. They're having
yeah,
fun, like it's a free ride at school. So in the OHL, there's none of those guys because in the when you're in the OHL, you're trying to get drafted. Like in the U Sports, some guys are like, I'm gonna play my 4 or 5 years and I'll be done playing hockey for the rest of my life. Where there's also the handful of guys that are like, no, like we can still make a career out of this.
yeah.
So I think that's probably where the discrepancy of the level of play comes from.
And like if you are one of these late bloomers, you now get the option to then go play NCAA. And who knows, maybe by the time you're 24, 25, as opposed to 20, 21. You
Yeah,
might
like
now be 6'4", 230. You might now shoot fucking pill like 100 mile an hour. You might be a different guy than you were at 21, where you were 6'3.5" and you were 210 and you're hitting 90 mile an hour clappers. All of a sudden, you've gained an extra half inch in height, an extra 30 pounds, an extra 10 mile an hour on your shot. You've been skating every day at college, so you're fucking legit.
and I
And
think too
sorry.
no, sorry. I think that even like to go with that point, like there's guys that like one name that comes to mind who you talk about late bloomers is a guy named is Ty Fellhaber who just made his NHL debut this year. He's my age, so he's 27. I mean,
Let's go, baby.
his last year in the OHL, I think he led the league in scoring. I think he won OHL Overage Player of the Year. You would have thought that he had reached his highest potential, but then you look at his stats after that year, he kind of bounced around the East Coast League and the American Hockey League, not really finding a home anywhere. And now he's 27 and now he's figured it out, I guess, because he's playing in the NHL. So, I mean, that late bloomer thing can start anywhere from, like you said, like 17 to, I guess, 27. Like,
Yep.
it's not even just those few years after the OHL. Like, there's so much to figure out. Like, I'm still figuring out pro hockey and guys finally can just do it and then they make it or it's too late and that's okay. Like it is what it is.
The good thing is you're 27. You could easily do this for another 10 years if you really wanted to. Like the options are there. But because you go down the school route, not necessarily you, but just people that do that, you as well, you don't have to do it. So the reason you're doing it is because you fucking love to do it. Because you go, well, I've got this degree sitting over here. I can go and sack this off at any point, grab this one, take the ball and run. But the guys that have done it and are still sticking around and doing it said love the fucking game.
Yeah, I think that was also a big factor into me going to school was I know that this thing doesn't last forever and I don't want to be stuck in a spot where I can't do something afterwards. I've seen too many guys in their OHL careers and try pro hockey for 3 or 4 years and they realize that it's not for them and then what do they do? Like then they have to go back to school, but then you have to pay for it and then it's like it was a big factor in me getting that degree finished and then moving on to trying it and doing it for as long as I want to because like you just said, I don't have to do it forever if I don't want to.
Ladies and gents, this has been Mr. Jacob Friend. It's been an absolute pleasure. Absolutely loved the chat. I like the fact that obviously we've got a bit of major junior chat, we've got a bit of college chat, bit of Europe chat, a bit of elite league
Bit of
chat,
everything.
bit of everything for you fans. Ladies and gents, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. There's going to be more episodes coming your way between now and the playoffs. They are fastly approaching. Jacob, it's been an absolute pleasure. You've been a great guest. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. It was a pleasure and appreciate you reaching out to get me on. So if you ever want to do it again, just let me know.
Thank you
Absolutely.
very much.
We love it. We love a round two on this podcast. And 3, 4, and 5 in some cases, depending on who we're chatting to. But ladies and gents, Make sure you subscribe, and we will see you for another episode very, very soon. Peace.
Peace.